Amara had nothing, not even hope. Just one coin left in her pocket, and a stranger's hungry eyes staring back at her. What Amara didn't know was that the beggar trembling before her controlled every street, every market, every breath of power in the city, and that single act of kindness was about to rewrite her entire fate. But the price would be unbearable. Amara's fingers traced the single coin in her pocket for the 100th time that morning. It was all that remained. Of 3 months searching for work in Calabar City, 3 months of rejection, 3 months of watching her hope shrink like fabric in the sun, the city had promised her everything. Her mother's dying wish had been simple. Go to the city, my daughter. Find the life I could never give you. Those words still echoed in Amara's chest, heavy and sacred. She had left her village of Ekpo with nothing but her mother's wrapper tied around her waist and a heart full of dreams that now felt like cruel jokes. She walked through the Wat market, past vendors who no longer bothered to look at her, the girl with worn slippers and yesterday's hunger written across her face. She had asked for work at every stall, every shop, every corner where hands were needed. The answer was always the same: a shake of the head, turn back. The coin in her pocket could buy her one meal, just one. Then there would be nothing left but the long walk back to Ekpo, back to the whispers and pitying eyes of those who had warned her that girls like her don't survive in cities like this. Amara sat on the edge of a broken fountain near the old cathedral. The water hadn't run in years, but people still gathered there, perhaps remembering when it did. She closed her eyes, letting the morning heat press against her skin, and wondered if giving up felt different than simply having nothing left to give. That's when she heard the coughing. An old man sat in the shadow of the cathedral wall, his body bent like a question mark, his clothes hanging off him like memories of better days. His feet were bare and cracked. His hands trembled as they reached toward passing strangers who walked by as if he were invisible. Amara watched him. For a long moment, she recognized something in his eyes. The same emptiness she saw in her own reflection in shop windows. The same quiet resignation that comes when the world has turned its back so many times. You stop expecting it to turn around. Her fingers found the coin again. She shouldn't. She knew she shouldn't. That coin was her last bridge between today and tomorrow, between hunger and complete surrender. But looking at the old man shaking hands, Amara felt something shift inside her chest. Her mother used to say, "When you have nothing, that's when your heart shows who you truly are." Amara stood up. Her legs felt heavy, as if they understood what her heart was about to do and were protesting. She walked toward the old man slowly, and for the first time that day, someone looked directly at her. His eyes were strange. Even through the dirt and exhaustion, there was something sharp in them, something that didn't match the broken body. But Amara was too focused on her own breaking to notice. "Uncle," she said softly, using the term of respect her mother had taught her. "Please take this." She placed the coin in his trembling palm. It was warm from being held so long in her pocket. The old man stared at it, then at her, and something flickered across his face that Amara couldn't name. Surprise? Pain? Recognition? His voice was rough, like stones grinding together. "You have nothing yourself. I can see it in your eyes." Amara smiled and it hurt. "Then you know what nothing feels like, Uncle? At least today, you'll have something." She turned to walk away before the weight of what she'd done could crush her, before the fear could catch up, before the tears could start. "Wait." The old man's voice stopped her. When she looked back, he was standing, slowly, painfully, but standing. Was taller than she'd expected. Even bent with age and hunger, there was something about the way he held himself now, something that made the air feel different. "What is your name, daughter, Amara? From Ekpo village?" He nodded slowly, his eyes never leaving her face. If he were memorizing every line, every shadow, "Amara, kindness in a cruel city." "Do you believe in fate, Amara?" She wanted to laugh, but she was too tired. "I used to believe in many things, Uncle, then believe in this." His voice grew stronger, clearer, losing some of its roughness. "True kindness is never wasted, even when it feels like throwing seeds on stone." Before she could respond, he turned and walked away, moving faster than seemed possible for someone who'd been crumpled against a wall moments before. Amara watched him disappear into the crowd, feeling strangely empty and strangely full at the same time. She had nothing. Now, truly nothing. But somehow, the weight in her chest felt lighter. What Amara didn't see was the old man stop 3 streets away. Didn't see him straighten fully, his posture transforming entirely. Didn't see the way his eyes sharpened with an intelligence that had never dimmed. And she certainly didn't see the black car that pulled up beside him, or the way 3 men in expensive suits stepped out and bowed deeply before opening the door for him. Inside the car, the old man, who was not old at all beneath the costume of rags, stared at the coin. In his palm, Chief Okonkwo, the most powerful man in Calabar. The invisible hand that controlled every business, every contract, every opportunity in the city, held a worthless coin like it was made of light. For 3 years he had walked the streets in disguise, searching, testing, watching how people treated those they believed had nothing. He had been spat on, ignored, cursed, and kicked. He had learned that kindness in the city had become as rare as rain in the dry season. Until today. Until a girl with nothing gave him everything. "Find out everything about her," Chief Okonkwo said quietly to his assistant. "And I mean everything. Where she's staying. Why she's here. What she needs. But do it carefully. She must." No, not yet. "Yes, Chief. But why the interest in a village girl?" Chief Okonkwo looked out the window at the city he controlled but could never quite understand. "Because I just met the first genuine person I've encountered in 3 years. And in this city of masks and hungry ambition that makes her either very foolish or very rare. I need to know which." Amara returned to the small room she'd been renting at Mama Etkong's compound. It was barely larger than a storage closet, with walls so thin she could hear every conversation, every argument, every life happening around her, while hers seemed to stand completely still. Mama Ekong met her at the courtyard entrance, arms crossed, face set in that expression landlords everywhere have perfected, the look that says money is due and excuses are expired. "Amara, we need to talk." "I know, Mama. I know the rent is 3 weeks overdue. I've been patient because your mother and I came from the same village. But patience doesn't pay my own bills, child." Amara felt something crack inside her chest. "Please, Mama, just 2 more days. I'm sure I'll find something. I'll clean, I'll cook, I'll do anything 2 days," Mama Ekong said, her voice softer, now touched with genuine sadness. "After that, I have someone else who wants the room. I'm sorry, Amara. I truly am." Amara climbed the stairs to her room, each step feeling like a small defeat. Inside, she lay on the thin mat that served as her bed and stared at the ceiling where water stains had created patterns that looked like maps to places she'd never go. She had 2 days to find a miracle. Exact moment, 5 streets away, Chief Okonkwo was reading a report about her. Every detail of her 3 months in the city, every rejection, every door closed in her face. The report painted a picture of determination meeting cruelty, hope colliding with indifference. "She's been looking for work as a clerk, a shopkeeper, even a cleaner," his assistant reported. "She has education, Chief. Secondary school completed. She's not lazy or entitled. City has just refused her. Because she has no connections," Chief Okonkwo said quietly. "No family name, no money to bribe her way into even the smallest opportunity. The same reason they refused me when I first came here, before I learned how this city truly works." He was silent for a long moment, remembering a younger version of himself. Hungry and desperate, learning that in Calabar, opportunity didn't knock on doors, it had to be forced open or bought. "The hotel," he said suddenly. "The Golden Palms? We own it, yes, Chief. Through the Meridian Holdings subsidiary, they need a new front desk manager. I want her hired. But arrange it so it seems legitimate, like she earned it. I don't want her to know about my involvement." His assistant hesitated. "Chief, forgive me, but why? She gave you 1 coin. Could give her 1,000,000 naira and forget her tomorrow." "Why this?" Chief Okonkwo stood and walked to the window of his penthouse office, looking down at the city sprawling below. From this height, everyone looked the same, small, struggling, invisible. because I built an empire in this city by being smarter, more ruthless, and more calculating than everyone else. I made money my god and power my religion, and somewhere along the way, I forgot what it felt like to meet someone who hadn't. She reminded me, and perhaps I want to see what happens when genuine goodness is given a genuine chance. But even as he said it, Chief Okonkwo felt the old familiar doubt. The city had a way of changing people, taking soft hearts and hardening them. Would Amara survive success the way she'd survived failure? Would kindness persist in comfort the way it had persisted in poverty? He would watch, and he would see. The next morning, Amara woke to frantic knocking on her door. Mama Ekong stood outside, breathless and bewildered. A man in a suit just came asking for you. From the Golden Palms Hotel. Said they want to interview you for a position, Amara. That's one of the biggest hotels in the city. How did you? But Amara was already moving, her heart hammering against her ribs. She didn't remember applying there, had she? The past 3 months were a blur of applications and rejections. Maybe she had. The interview was brief and strange. The manager, Mr. Adebayo, barely asked her questions. He mostly just watched her, as if confirming something he already knew. An hour later, she was offered the position. Front desk manager, salary that made her dizzy. Start Monday. Amara walked out of the Golden Palms in a daze, convinced she was dreaming or dying or both. She found herself back at the cathedral, at the broken fountain, where just yesterday she'd given away her last coin. Thank you, Mama, she whispered. To the sky, to her mother's spirit, to whatever force had suddenly bent the universe in her favor. I'll make you proud, promise. From a car parked across the street, Chief Okonkwo watched her through tinted windows. He saw the tears on her face, saw the way she pressed her hands together in gratitude, saw the pure, uncomplicated joy of someone who still believed good things could happen to good people. Something twisted in his chest, something he hadn't felt in so long he'd forgotten its name. Guilt. Because he knew what came next. Success in his city always had a price. It always demanded compromise. And he wondered, watching Amara's grateful tears, if he'd just saved her or set her up for a different kind of destruction. The weeks that followed transformed Amara's life. The job was real. The money was real. For the first time since arriving in Calabar, she could eat without counting coins. Could pay Mama Ekong not just rent, but advance rent. Could buy a new wrapper without guilt, eating away at the small joy. But more than that, she was good at the work. Natural at it. She had a gift for making guests feel seen, for remembering names and small details that made people feel valued. Within a month, the hotel's guest satisfaction scores had risen. Within 2 months, Mr. Adebayo was telling her she had a future in hospitality management. Chief Okonkwo received weekly reports. He read them with the satisfaction of a gardener watching a seed sprout, but also with growing unease, because he'd started something, and now he didn't know how to finish it. How long would he watch from the shadows? What was his endgame? Why did it matter so much that she'd never find out the truth? Then came the complication he hadn't anticipated. His son Chima came home from London. Chima Okonkwo was everything his father had built the empire for. Educated, sophisticated, destined to inherit everything, but he was also everything his father had never wanted him to become: soft, entitled, and utterly disconnected from the struggles that had forged his father's steel. Chief Okonkwo had sent him to the Golden Palms to learn the hospitality business. From the ground up, you need to understand every part of what we own, he'd told his son, starting from the bottom. What he didn't anticipate was that Chima would meet Amara on his very first day. Chima walked into the Golden Palms, expecting to be bored, another one of his father's lessons in humility. Another attempt to make him understand the common man. He'd learned to smile through these exercises, do the minimum required, and return to his real life as quickly as possible. Then he saw the woman at the front desk, and something in his carefully constructed indifference cracked. Amara looked up from her computer as a young man approached, well-dressed, but with an uncertainty in his posture that suggested he was out of his element. Their eyes met, and for a strange moment, time seemed to slow. "Welcome to the Golden Palms," Amara said, her smile genuine and warm. "How may I help you?" "I'm Chima Okonkwo." I'm supposed to start training here today. Mara's smile widened. Of course, Mr. Adebayo mentioned you'd be joining us. Welcome to the team. She extended her hand, and when Chima took it, he felt something he'd never felt in any of the exclusive clubs or society parties of London, a genuine human connection. No agenda, no calculation, just simple, honest kindness. Over the following weeks, Chima found excuses to be at the front desk. To ask Amara questions about hotel operations, to bring her tea during slow periods, to make her laugh with stories about his confusion over what he'd thought would be a simple job. And Amara, despite herself, despite every warning she gave her own heart, began to look forward to seeing him, began to notice the way his eyes lit up when he talked about the architecture he'd studied in London, began to appreciate the gentle way he treated the cleaning staff, the kitchen workers, the people his father's money had taught him to overlook. They were falling in love, slowly, carefully, like two people who both knew better but couldn't help themselves. But in his penthouse, reading the latest report, Chief Okonkwo's hands trembled with an emotion he couldn't name. His son and the village girl is the heir to his empire, and the woman whose kindness had touched something dead inside him. This wasn't part of the plan. This couldn't happen, because Chief Okonkwo knew something neither of them did. He knew that Amara's success wasn't earned, it was given. Knew that she was living a life he'd manufactured. Knew that everything good that had happened to her was built on a foundation of his manipulation and lies. And he knew that if Chima found out, if Amara discovered the truth, everything would shatter. For the first time in 30 years, Chief Okonkwo felt afraid, not of losing money or power, yet of the mess his good intentions had created, of the hearts that would break when the truth finally came to light. And it would come to light, always found a way. The question was whether anyone would survive it. 3 months after Chima and Amara met, he asked her to dinner at a small restaurant in the old quarter. Not the kind of place his father's friends would be caught dead in, but the kind where the pepper soup was real and the jollof rice tasted like home. Over candlelight that flickered in the evening breeze, Chima took her hand. Amara, I need to tell you something, and I need you to hear all of it before you respond. Her heart stuttered. She'd been expecting this conversation and dreading it in equal measure, because she knew what came next. She'd seen it in the way he looked at her, in the careful way he touched her hand, in the silence that hung between them when words ran out. I love you, Chima said simply. I know it's fast. I know we come from different worlds. I know my father will have opinions and concerns and probably 100 reasons why this is complicated. But I've never felt this certain about anything. You make me want to be better. You make me remember why any of this matters. Amara felt tears burning behind her eyes. Chima, you don't know me? You don't know where I come from or what I was before the hotel. Then tell me. Tell me everything. So, she did. She told him about Ekpo village, about her mother's death and final wish, about 3 months of rejection and hunger, about the last coin she'd given to a stranger because something in her couldn't walk past suffering, even when she was drowning. In her own, she told him everything except the strange coincidence that right after that moment of kindness, her entire life had changed. She hadn't connected those dots yet, hadn't let herself think too hard about the timing. But Chima heard something in her story that made his blood run cold. The cathedral, the old man in rags, the single coin, his father's favorite story, the test he'd been running for 3 years, and the experiment in human nature that had become an obsession. No, it couldn't be. But even as Chima tried to deny it, pieces clicked into place. His father's sudden interest in the Golden Palms, the way he'd insisted Chima work there specifically, the questions about staff that always seemed to circle back to Amara. Amara, Chima said carefully, his voice strange even to his own ears. This old man, did you ever see him again? No. I've looked for him sometimes to tell him things worked out, but he disappeared. Why? Chima stood abruptly. I need to check something. I'm sorry. I'll explain everything. Promise, just give me 1 day, please. He left money for the meal and walked out, leaving Amara confused and frightened, her heart doing complicated mathematics of hope and dread. The confrontation happened in Chief Okonkwo's office at midnight. Chima burst in without knocking, his face a storm of emotions his father had never seen him express. It was you, the old man at the cathedral, the whole thing. Tell me I'm wrong. Chief Okonkwo stood slowly, and in that moment, Chima saw his father fully for the first time. Not the titan of industry, not the benevolent philanthropist, but the manipulator, the chess player, the man who couldn't help but control every piece. On the board, can't tell you you're wrong, his father said quietly. Why? Why would you do this? You built her whole life on a lie. Everything she thinks she earned, she did earn it. Chief Okonkwo's voice rose. I opened a door. She walked through it with grace and excellence. I gave her opportunity. Made it matter you gave her a golden cage? And you know the worst part? I love her, Dad. I actually love her. And when she finds out the truth, she'll never know if any of it was real, if her success was real, if my feelings are real. You've poisoned everything. The words hit Chief Okonkwo like physical blows. He'd known they were coming, had rehearsed counter-arguments in his mind, but now hearing them from his son, hearing the raw pain in Chima's voice, all his justifications turned to dust. What do you want me to do? Tell her the truth. Face her. Let her decide what's real and what isn't. She'll leave. She'll see it as charity. Then that's her choice. Don't you see? That's what you took from her. The choice. You got to play God with her life because she showed you kindness. And now you're too much of a coward to let her be angry about it. Chief Okonkwo felt something inside him breaking. Something that had been frozen for so long that the thaw was agonizing. You're right, he whispered. You're right, and I'm sorry. I'll tell her. Tomorrow. I'll tell her everything. But tomorrow came too fast, and truth arrived wearing the face of destruction. Amara was called to Mr. Adebayo's office the next morning. She walked in to find him, Chief Okonkwo, and Chima all waiting. The air was thick with tension, so dense she could barely breathe. Please sit, Amara, Chief Okonkwo said. What's happening? Am I being fired? No, you're being told the truth. And I suspect when you hear it, you'll wish you were being fired instead. Amara looked at Chima, searching for comfort, but found only sadness in his eyes. Fear bloomed in her chest. Chief Okonkwo told her everything. The disguise, the 3-year search, single coin that had marked her as worthy. It's a job that was created, not earned. The invisible hand that had shaped every good thing that happened to her since that day. With each word, Amara felt herself shrinking, felt the ground beneath her accomplishments turning to quicksand, felt 3 months of pride and purpose and growing confidence revealed as an elaborate puppet show where she'd been the only one who didn't know the strings were there. When he finished, the silence was unbearable. So none of it was real, Amara said finally, her voice flat and dead. I didn't earn this job. My performance didn't matter. I was just, what? Your charity case? Your social experiment? No. Chief Okonkwo said desperately. You were exceptional. You are exceptional. I just gave you the chance to prove it. A chance I didn't earn. A chance you chose to give me because I made you feel something. Like I'm a pet who performed a clever trick. She stood, and there were no tears on her face. Just a terrible, empty calm. I gave you 1 coin because you looked hungry and I knew how hunger felt. It wasn't a test. It wasn't a transaction. It was just human, and you turned it into this. More, please, Chima started. And you. She turned to him, and now the tears came. Did you know from the beginning? No, I swear. I found out yesterday and immediately demanded he'd tell you. That's real. How can I ever know? How can I ever know if you fell in love with me or with your father's project? How can I trust anything anymore? She walked toward the door, and Chief Okonkwo felt panic rising in his chest. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. This wasn't the gratitude or relief or redemption he'd imagined. What will you do? He asked. Amara turned back, and her eyes were clear. I'm going to quit. I'm going to leave this city. I'm going to start over somewhere where I can know that what I build is mine. Where kindness is just kindness, not a transaction that comes back to haunt me. Let me help you, Chief, Okonkwo said desperately. Money, references, connections? No, the word was final. You've helped enough. I gave you a coin worth nothing. And in return, you gave me a life I can't trust. That's not help. That's not kindness. That's control wearing a smile. She left. The door closed behind her with a soft click that sounded like an ending. Chief Okonkwo stood in the silence, feeling the full weight of his actions. He'd wanted to prove that kindness still existed. Instead, he'd proved that in trying to reward it, he'd destroyed it. Chima looked at his father with something he'd never felt before, disappointment so deep it felt like grief. "It built an empire," Chima said quietly, "but you forgot how to just be human. She taught you that lesson, and you couldn't help but turn it into another transaction." Then he left too, leaving his father alone with his regret and his empire that suddenly felt very small. Amara returned to Ekbo village. She went back to Mama Ekon and paid her rent in full, plus extra for the kindness of those 2 days of patience. Then she packed her single bag and took the bus home. The village greeted her with the same poverty she'd left behind, but also with the same warmth. The same simple rhythm of life, where people were exactly who they appeared to be. She found work as a teacher at the village school. The pay was small, but it was hers, earned, real. She taught children who looked at her the way she'd once looked at the world, full of hope and hunger for something better, and slowly, day by day, she rebuilt. Not the life that had been given to her, but the life she chose. 6 months passed. Then one afternoon, as she was closing up the school, a car appeared on the dusty road. Not a taxi, not a bus, a private car, expensive and out of place. Chima stepped out. Amara's heart did something complicated in her chest. "You shouldn't be here." "I know, but I needed you to know something. I left too. Left the hotel. Left my father's empire. I'm studying for exams to become a certified teacher. I thought maybe I could teach architecture at a technical school somewhere. Use the education I have in a way that actually matters." "Why?" "Because you were right about all of it. And because loving you taught me that there are things money can't buy and power can't touch. I'm not here to ask you to take me back. I'm here to show you that what I felt was real. Real enough to walk away from everything else to become someone who might deserve it." Amara studied his face, saw the changes in him, the calluses on his hands, the simpler clothes, the humility that comes from actually struggling. "And your father, he sent you this." Chima handed her an envelope. Inside was a letter handwritten in an old man's shaky script. "Amara, I am old enough now to know that some mistakes cannot be fixed, only acknowledged. I have tried to reward your kindness and ended up betraying it. I tried to prove that goodness still exists and ended up demonstrating how easily power corrupts even good intentions. I am returning your coin, the real one. I kept it all this time, and I realize now it was never mine to keep. You gave it freely, expecting nothing. I took that gift and made it transactional. For that I am truly sorry. I hope you build a life that is entirely yours. And I hope you know that even though I failed you, you changed me. You reminded me what it means to give without counting cost. You are the teacher now, and I am the student who failed the test. With deepest respect, Okonkwo." The coin fell out of the envelope into Amara's palm. Warm, worthless, perfect. She looked at Chima, then at the coin, then at the school behind her, where children's laughter echoed even in emptiness. "I don't know if I can trust this," she said. "Honestly, any of it. I know. I'm not asking you to. I'm just asking if I can stay in the village, teach, build something real. And maybe over time show you that some things can be real, even when they start complicated." Mara thought about her mother, about last coins and first chances, about the complicated mathematics of forgiveness and the simple algebra of hope. "There's a room at Mama Blessing's compound," she said finally. "It's small, and the roof leaks, and you'll hate it." Chima smiled. "It sounds perfect." Amara didn't smile back. Not yet, but she didn't say no either. And in that space between yes and no, between trust and doubt, between the life that was given and the life that was earned, something new began to grow, something real, something that belonged to no one but them. They say kindness is its own reward, but the truth is messier than that. Kindness can be complicated, can be used as a weapon or a gift. It can save you or trap you. It can be pure or poisoned by good intentions. Amara learned that day by the cathedral that giving with an open heart is dangerous, because you can never control what comes back. But she also learned this: The only life worth living is one you can look at in the mirror and recognize. One built by your own hands, even if those hands shake. One where your kindness is yours to give, not a performance someone else is grading. Chief Okonkwo learned that power without wisdom is just another form of poverty, and that the greatest gift you can give someone is the chance to build their own life, not a life you build for them. As for Chima and Amara, their story was just beginning. Slow, careful, real. Because the best love stories aren't the ones where someone saves you. They're the ones where you save yourself and someone chooses to walk beside you anyway. Not because they have to, but because you showed them what it means to be human. One coin at a time.